Hello? I've had quite an unexpected experience as a Spanish instructor. Never did I anticipate something like this happening with a student. Ultimately, I'm very pleased with the outcome. After graduating with a degree in Spanish, I studied abroad. While living overseas, I worked part-time at an insurance company. And upon arriving in the U.S., I spent a long time as an insurance agent. I was incredibly busy meeting with clients and made a decent amount of money. However, my health began to suffer. Often, I had to join clients for drinks in the evenings, and I worried this lifestyle would eventually harm my health, leading me to quit my job as an agent. Now, I'm professionally tutoring Spanish, helping both students preparing for exams and those looking to enter the job market. Even after quitting, I stayed in touch with some clients, one of whom referred me to tutor Spanish to an elementary student named James. I was astonished the first time I met James's mother. Throughout my career in insurance, I've met many people, but none as beautiful as her. She could easily be mistaken for a model with her tall stature, slim figure, straight nose, and big eyes. It was so dazzling that I felt nervous during our consultation. She mentioned she was in her early 30s, having married and given birth right after college. She laughed, saying she regretted not being able to hang out much with her friends because of her early pregnancy, but she looked genuinely happy. James was a smart kid with great focus. He followed along well in my classes and diligently completed his homework. I would reward him with small toys that kids his age would enjoy, and he would smile brightly. One day, while teaching James, someone knocked and brought in snacks, red kiwi, and sliced cake. It was a woman I hadn't met before in her early 50s, who introduced herself as James's grandmother. She expressed a desire to learn Spanish as well, explaining that she often travels with her friends and felt like a mute, not being able to order food or shop on her own. She had come over after hearing about the Spanish tutoring and brought snacks for us. James's grandmother mentioned she had a tea set with instructions in Spanish and was unsure how to use it, asking for my help after James's lesson was over. I agreed, and later, I was taken to her home in a luxury sedan, arriving in a neighborhood well known for its affluence within 20 minutes. My grandmother was in her late 50s when she became a widow, her husband passing away when their children were in upper elementary school. She lived in a two-story mansion that was distinctly classy from the garden up. It was the largest home I'd ever seen. Inside, there was a Filipino housekeeper. My grandmother had a routine of swimming at dawn and going to the driving range in the afternoon. She also occasionally visited a nearby spa for treatments, which explained her youthful appearance despite her age. She had received black tea as a gift, which came with instructions to steep a teaspoon of tea leaves in hot water for 10 seconds, discard the water, then pour in fresh water and steep again before drinking. My grandmother was pleased to finally understand how to prepare it and mentioned she should start learning Spanish. She insisted that we stay for dinner, saying it was her way of thanking us. James, who is a handsome and kind Spanish teacher, had sparked her interest in learning the language, and she was grateful for his help. While waiting on the sofa, my grandmother appeared in quite youthful attire, showcasing a slim figure that rivaled that of a daughter-in-law. Unlike the women her age in my family, she didn't have the typical apple body shape, but rather a healthy and slender one, a testament to her physical activity. James complimented her on her health and fitness, to which she responded with a bright smile. The dinner prepared by the housekeeper was extraordinary. When asked how she managed to prepare so much food, my grandmother explained that she had called ahead while we were at James's place. She praised the housekeeper for being clever and having a good sense of adapting cooking methods. After dinner, the housekeeper ran the dishwasher and then left for the day. My grandmother suggested we have a chat, just the two of us. She brought out wine from her cellar, along with some snacks she had prepared earlier. She shared that it had been over 20 years since her husband's death and recounted the challenges of raising two sons and facing rumors and slander without her husband. Despite it all, she never looked for another man, finding great joy in her smart sons and grandchildren. Her strength and resilience were truly admirable. My grandmother expressed a desire to learn Spanish moving forward. She's quite busy, so we decided to have lessons on her only free day Sunday. She was thrilled with this arrangement and even mentioned paying a little extra since she was specifically making time for it. I started teaching her the basics at her house every week, and she was very dedicated. It turns out she has a knack for languages. She supplemented our lessons with online courses and daily homework, and soon she was able to hold basic conversations. One day, she suggested we take a trip to France, inviting James and his mother along. James was her favorite. We booked 3 rooms, one for me, one for my grandmother, and one for James's family. The trip was filled with meals at the resort and leisure time by the pool and beach. Having a Spanish teacher with her made my grandmother feel confident, and James's family enjoyed the trip as well. I couldn't help but be captivated by James's mother's beauty, though she seemed oblivious to my interest. My grandmother practiced her Spanish by ordering drinks at the snack bar and exchanging dollars at the hotel front desk. She found using Spanish in a real-life context fun and exhilarating. Watching the sunset, she wished my grandfather could have seen this too, visibly moved. James' mother offered to take her back to her room, but my grandmother insisted on staying out a bit longer with James. Before leaving her room, she expressed how meaningful this trip was for her. It had been nearly 20 years since she felt this way after my grandfather passed. The next day, we rented a car for a sightseeing trip around the city. My grandmother sneakily held my hand, avoiding James's mother's notice. This gesture was both endearing and a poignant reminder of her life's sacrifices. We bought gifts for James's family at a shopping mall, making the France trip truly memorable. Back home, I gave my grandmother the gifts I bought in France. She was touched that I thought of her even while traveling. She hinted that I should stay over since they didn't have a maid anymore, which I understood the implication of. Lately, she's been very welcoming towards me, mentioning how she's been keeping up with her health and exercises, all the while shyly smiling. It seems she wants to make a good impression by diligently doing her homework and preparing delicious meals. I find myself unable to part with such a lovely student for the time being.